Salutations, fam. This is Dark Slayer Arim from How Tessia Gaming, and in today's video, this is going to be one of those lecture videos. So, and also, I wanted to do like a Master Duel video because I haven't done one of those in a while. Um, but yeah, so basically, what this video is going to talk about is going to be talking about card roles and understanding card roles, because one of the things I've noticed that I get asked in comment sections a lot is, "Hey, if I don't have this card, can I replace it with this card?" And so basically this video is going to be talking almost entirely about that, while also focusing on like the Blue Eyes decks specifically, right? So one of the things about card roles is basically understanding what purpose a card serves. Like, so for example, people will ask me like, "Hey, can I replace Pot of Prosperity with, trade in if I don't have prosperities?" And the reason why you can't replace prosperity with trade-in is because these cards actually serve different card roles. Yes, they do both increase consistency, but they serve different card roles because they do it in different ways. Trade-in is an extender. Prosperity is a card that like reduces deck size basically. So in order to replace like the pot cards, that's basically what they do is they reduce your deck size. They increase consistency by allowing you to play a deck size smaller than 40 cards effectively. Because whenever you draw a card, like if you open Pot of Prosperity, Extract, Desires, you can immediately trade these cards for new cards. It does not matter like what the game state is. You can just like at the beginning of the game, it doesn't matter what else is in your hand, what is on the board, what's in the graveyard. It does not matter. You can just immediately trade those cards for new cards outside of like hyper specific scenarios where they've like with Desires, like let's say you play against the Necro face deck and they just like banish your entire deck and you can't activate Desires or whatever. But like effectively, these cards allow you to play a smaller deck size, right? Trade-in, on the other hand, is an extender. It increases your consistency by allowing you to extend to potentially keep playing, and potentially hit cards that you need to hit. This is an extender. And extenders are not starters. Sometimes starters can also be extenders, but extenders are not starters. So I'm gonna basically what I've got here is I've basically got a pile of cards, and these are basically a bunch of different cards that you can play in a Blue Eyes deck, and I'll kind of explain like what they facilitate, basically, what card role they function, and you'll notice like you'll be able to be like, oh, these cards have the same card role. So if I don't have this card, I can potentially play this card instead, So basically that's what this video is going to be covering. And one thing I will say is that like Blue Eyes as a deck is like one of the most versatile archetypes just in the game period. There are so many different cards that you can play that it's like, yeah, you kind of can always build a Blue Eyes deck regardless of the meta, regardless of the format, because it's just you can build the deck like legitimately you can build the deck however you want. You can build it to play against any meta, any format, and that's kind of why I've been able to play the deck for like the last 20 years. Because you can just kind of like adapt it to whatever. Like if it's a control meta, you can build Blue Eyes as a control deck. If it's a combo meta, you can build Blue Eyes as a combo deck. If it's like a meta where it's like the best decks all lose to this, and this, you can build Blue Eyes to do that. But yeah, moving on, I'm just gonna kind of like go over the stuff. So what the Blue Eyes White Dragon? Obviously, this is the one card that you have to play in a Blue Eyes deck. Because this is what makes it a Blue Eyes deck. It revolves around this card. Basically, what this is an engine requirement. Basically, what engine requirements are they're cards that you need to play in order to make other cards work, right? If you're not playing the Blue Eyes White Dragon, cards like Stone of Legend don't do anything. Maiden doesn't do anything. Protector doesn't do anything. Abyss Dragon, doesn't do anything. A lot of these cards that you play in the Blue Eyes deck don't do anything if you're not playing the Blue Eyes White Dragon. In the same vein, Cyframe Driver is an engine requirement. You play this because you have to play it in order to use the Cyframe hand traps, like Gamma and Delta, right? So, Gamma is a hand trap that can negate monster effects while you control all monsters, but it also, it can stop other hand traps. That's like the big thing about this card. But, the drivers and engine requirement. We're not going to talk about those too much, but we'll bring them up when we get to like other cards, basically, right? So, Stone of Legend, this is a starter. This adds blue eyes to your hand. Typically, you would play like one of this in most decks. The reason why you only play one of this nowadays is because, like, typically you're going to be playing 2 to 3 of this anyway. And if you're playing multiple copies of the card, the reality is that you're going to draw the card. You will want to add this to your hand sometimes, and it won't be in your hand, so you still will play cards that can add it. But for the most part, you're not going to build your deck around adding this to your hand, simply because the game has evolved past that point. You're able to summon stuff directly from the deck. You're able to like get access to stuff outside of it just being in your hand. We no longer have to do the Flute of Summoning Dragon combo, so we don't need Blue Eyes White Dragon to be in your hand anymore. But just letting you know, like, that's what this card does. It adds Blue Eyes to your hand. It's a level 1 tuner, so it helps you make your synchro plays. You play this because it adds Blue Eyes to your hand, so you can send it off of Foolish, Dragon Shrine, to add Blue Eyes to your hand. You can pitch it off Melody to go +1 and things like that. But yeah, this is, Effect Failure. So this is not just a hand trap, and you'll notice I'm not just having like the hand traps I'm playing, like, are in this like pile, are here because they serve a specific purpose in the context of building a Blue Eyes deck. Veiler is a level 1 light tuner that you can search off of Sage with Eyes of Blue, that you can extra normal summon with Mausoleum of White, that you can use to go into your Halki Fibrax plays and your level 9 Synchro plays, because it is specifically a level 1 light tuner. The fact that it's a level 1 light tuner means you can add it off of Master with Eyes of Blue. So that's the reason why, like, Veiler gets played specifically in Blue Eyes, because of its synergy with the Blue Eye strategy. Maiden with Eyes of Blue, this summons Blue Eyes from deck. But this is one of those cards that you have to build around, if we're being realistic. This is not just a card you just play because you're playing Blue Eyes. As I mentioned in my standardization video, you don't just play cards because they're good cards. You play them because they're specifically good cards in the deck that you were currently playing, the deck list that you were currently playing. Because, like, as I mentioned in my, Trap Blue Eyes video, I wasn't playing Veiler because I wasn't playing Sage, and I wasn't playing the Synchro Monster. Why did I just say Veiler was good? Because of those things. If you're not playing the things that makes Veiler good, you lose the reason to play Veiler. Outside of it just being a hand trap anyway. Protector. This is a card that, can help you extend and special summon extra level 1 light tuners. Again, what's Veiler? This is a card that you can special summon off of this effect to then go into Halki Fibrax. It also has the added benefit of special summoning Blue Eyes monsters from your hand. So if you're in a situation where you like drew Abyss Dragon, you can use this to get it out of your hand. You can use this to summon Blue Eyes from your hand. You can use this to summon Dragon Spirit of Light. You can use this to summon your Blue Eyes monster from your hand if you happen to draw them. You wouldn't always play this, but again, you might not have the best option, so sometimes you got to play the second best option. The reality is that when you are deck building, you don't build the best deck possible. You build specifically the best deck possible with your available resources. The reality is that even if you don't have the best card, well, then you just play the second best card that you have, And then obviously Sage, this is like, the starter, the searcher of the deck. It searches all your level 1 light tuners and adds them to your hand. This searches your stone. This searches, searches your stone, searches your hand traps, searches your normal summons and things like that. The thing about it is that, like, a lot of people don't actually know that, like, you can play these cards and, like, build a viable deck. It's just that you have to, like, build that deck specifically. The thing about these cards and what makes them good is that these normal summon monsters, their effects are not once per turn. And the thing about the field spell is that it gives you an extra normal summon, and that's the synergy, is that you have monsters that are not once per turn on their normal summon effects with a deck that gives you an extra normal summon of these monsters, and that's what makes them, like, good. It allows you to have, like, strong plays. Obviously, this is the card that most people know if they play Blue Eyes. It summons Blue Eyes from the deck. It gives you, that ability to, like, grind. It replaces your stuff. And also, like, I just want to, like, reiterate, this is just kind of, like, going to be talking about Blue Eyes theory in general, because as I mentioned before, you can kind of build Blue Eyes as, like, all of the deck types. You can build it as an aggro deck, a stun deck, a combo deck, a mid-range deck, a control deck. You can build it however you want. and like what you would play in the deck kind of changes based on what type of deck you're building. Um, but yeah, obviously, like Sage, searches, it can special blue eyes from the deck. This effect doesn't get talked about as much because it is a -1, but it also summons your boss monster directly from the deck, and that does come up sometimes. Master with Eyes of Blue, this allows you to extend by like turning any effect monster on the board into a blue eyes monster from grave. It adds your resources back to hand from your grave. This being a level 1 light tuner means that if you've already used a Veiler, you can normal master, add back that Veiler so you have that hand trap to use again, or have that monster to extend into like more plays and things like that. Psy Reflector, this is part of an engine, so this can actually give you a synchro play between level, I think, 5 to 9 or something like that. So it's part of an engine where basically, if this card's normal or special summon, you get to add Assault Mode Activate or any card that lists it. So basically what you do is you add, where is it? You add Assault Beast, and then you pitch Assault Beast to add Assault Mode Activate to your hand. And then what you can do is you can activate the Psy Reflector effect to then, you reveal the Assault Mode Activate in your hand, and then you special summon the Assault Beast from grave, and then you change its level. And so you can either turn it to like, basically what you would do in this deck specifically is what you would typically be doing is you would turn it into a level 7. So you can then go into like Chaos Ruler, or like, again, it can give you like a different number of synchro monsters. So you kind of just use it to get into like your synchro plays and things like that. But it's just like, a engine that you can access off of like emergency teleport, but you can also like normal summon it sometimes. So it's just like, a different engine that you might play. E-Tele is also something, and that's why you play like, the Cyphering package, because these are not just hand traps, these are monsters that you can special summon off of E-Tele to extend through plays, go into Hauki Firebrax, go into your synchro plays. On the same vein, you have Ghost Soaker, that's the same thing. It's a hand trap, but it's also a monster you can special summon off of E-Tele to go into synchro plays. Astro Karibo, this is a very powerful card that a lot of people don't know about because it is extremely new. This card is like has come out like within the last year, I think. Like it came out in Brothers of Legend. I'm not sure when it came out in the OCG, but it's like it's a new card. So basically, what this card is you reveal a number Xyz monster in your extra deck, and then you just special summon this card, and it turns into like the level of the Xyz monster, the rank. So basically, in the context of this deck, why this card is good is because this card basically just says special summon a level 8 monster for free. You don't have to be in a specific game state. You get to just special summon a level 8 monster. And if you're playing a rank 8 build, this card is exceptional, because you get to just special summon a monster to then go into number 90 or number 97 or number 38. Now, the downside of this card is that it does lock you into number Xyz monsters while it's face up on the field. But, that's presumably what you were going to do if you were making this card, using this card's effect. And added on to that, like this card only locks you into that restriction specifically if you use the effect. Because the thing is, you can actually just normal summon it to like go into Link Karibo, or like if you have a tuner, you can go into Hauki Firebrax. So it's like it has an added versatility to it as well. Yeah, and also, and this is actually something I didn't even mention about the card, because that's not why you play it. You play it because it's a special summon of a level 8 monster to go into your rank 8 plays. But the monster that you make with this can't be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects. So that's just an added bonus. This effect is not why you play it, but it's just an added benefit to the fact that it's just a free extender that you can use. And in the context of a Blue Eyes combo deck, that's something I'm going to bring a lot, is just extenders. Because one of the weaknesses of like Blue Eyes builds that I've seen is that they're not playing extenders that are just free extenders, basically. They're playing a lot of situational extenders that require you to have a specific condition to be met. And it creates a scenario where like if a condition isn't met, you just pass turn. So like as I mentioned in the standardization deck building, if you open a hand of like Sage, Trade-in, 1-for-1, Dragon Shrine, Return of the Dragon Lords, right? And then you go, this hand's insane, I'm going to normal summon Sage, get the stone, and then you're going to pop off really hard, right? And then they ask the Sage, and you look at all these other cards, and you realize you can't actually activate these cards anymore. Like, they don't do anything. So you end up in this scenario where all of a sudden, well, you just pass turn off of one hand trap. where if they were free extenders, you'd be able to keep playing. You'd be able to use these free extenders to keep playing through that hand trap. But moving on, we have the Assault Beast as, if you remember, cards that you play in order to enable other cards. This is an engine requirement. This is an engine requirement. We have Alistair in here because, Invoked Blue Eyes is a very powerful, build. I've seen some people build Invoked Blue Eyes as a combo deck. I usually play it as a mid-range deck because, in my opinion, that's like the best way to play it. Like Alistair is a card, it's basically built to be like mid-range control-less type stuff because it gives you an interruption. It doesn't do anything like crazy. It gives you like card advantage, but then it just does that every single turn. This is here to showcase like Alistair, and then like the idea is that typically you would play Alistair. I don't have enough room to like fit everything into the screenshot because you can only put 20 cards in here. So I just kind of like type it up as it's relevant. So with Alistair, you play Alistair, Magical Meltdown. So this is the field spell that adds Alistair. And then while this is on the board, they can't like negate the activation of your fusion summons. And when a fusion monster is summoned, your opponent can activate card effects. So like what this means is actually like this card is like really broken actually. So basically what this means is that in that summon response window, your opponent can't do anything. So what you can actually do is you can just start chaining a bunch of stuff and they just can't respond to it with anything. So if I go like activate, meltdown, summon any fusion monster, I can just go chain. I can go like chain Silver Scry, chain Majesty, chain E-Telly, chain Pancratop. Like I can just chain a bunch of stuff in that summon response window, and your opponent just can't respond at all. They just can't do anything, and like that's why this card is like ridiculously broken. But yeah, moving on, and then also you would play like Meltdown, and then like the Invocations, right? So this is the fusion spell of the archetype. You play this so that you can use your invoke fusions, and then like the monster that you typically play, you play the Almirage, right? So this allows you to have Alistair be a one card negate basically, because instead of having to have like a light monster in your hand to use, what you can do is you can normal Alistair, link it off for Almirage, and then turn that Almirage into a secure Gartna, which is a light monster. And then you can activate Invocation and fuse the Alistair and the Secure Gartna to make your Invoked Mechaba. I'm actually just going to type Invoke so I can like talk about each of them individually. So you have Invoked Mechaba, you have Agoides, Kaliga, Purgatrio, and Raijin. These are the ones that usually see play. There's obviously other ones, but they usually don't see play. This is like the one that you're going to be summoning the most often. It's the one card Mechaba. This is technically an Omni Negate. It's basically an Ultimate Providence on legs. You pitch the type of card that they activate, and you negate and banish that card. And the fact that it negates and banishes is actually like ridiculously powerful. In the context of like this game, everybody hates Eldritch, right? So if they go Eldritch Effect Engrave, send for cost, you can negate that with Mechaba, and then it banishes the Eldritch, and that's really strong. Agoides is just like another monster that you can summon. So basically what this card does is you use Alistair plus any fusion monster. And basically what this card does is that when it's summoned, it pops a monster your opponent controls. And anytime they special summon a monster, you can choose to pop a monster. But it's like, obviously it's a once per turn effect, so you only get one pop per turn. But it's just like, basically that's what it does. It's like, if they summon a monster, you can choose to pop it, basically. And also it can banish a fusion monster from your grave to like gain the attack, so this can get like really big too. Kaliga is just a floodgate. And then Purgatrio is like an OTK enabler because it can attack everything. It pierces, and then like it gains attack for every card your opponent controls. And so like this can be like your OTK enabler. But moving on from the Invoked archetype, you have the Dogmatika stuff. So like you have the Dogmatika Ecclesia, which searches like all your Dogmatika cards. As you've seen, if you've seen the fusion control build that I've been playing, like I play this engine in that deck because it synergizes really well with it. Basically Nadir can like send stuff from your extra deck to then search Ecclesia and then search Punishment to then send more stuff from your extra deck. And like certain things that you can send are like Chimera Felicia. So this is a card that you can send. This can search, it searches fusion spells, but in the context of a Blue Eyes deck, right? A control Blue Eyes deck, the main thing that you're searching with this is fusion deployment. So what this card does is you reveal a fusion monster in your extra deck that specifically lists a monster, and it special summons that monster from the deck, basically, right? So what in the context of a blue eyes deck, what you're doing is you're revealing. Well, I actually don't have any in here because again, you can only put 20 cards down there. So you will reveal one. No, not. You reveal one of the blue eyes fusion monsters, right? So Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, just for example, right? So you can actually reveal any of the Blue Eyes fusion monsters, right? And you get to special summon Blue Eyes directly from the deck. And like the downside to this card is that it locks you into fusions for the rest of the turn. But if you're playing like a control deck, you're typically not going to your extra deck fact much anyway. And like the thing is, you're actually trying to summon this. But yeah, it's like with the Dogmatika engine, you can send things like Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. When this card is in the graveyard, if they target a Blue Eyes monster, you can banish it to negate and destroy the card. So if they go like activate Unicorn, target Blue Eyes White Dragon, or target any Blue Eyes monster, right? So let's say they have like your Spirit Dragon or whatever, and they're trying to like force this like interruption out. You can like use this to negate that or something like that, right? And this is just something you can get off of the Dogmatika engine, right? And then also there's also obviously like the punishment targets, for example, like Wind Pegasus, like hold up. Hey, I spelled that way wrong. Hold up. Come on, fingers. Things like Entis. You have Entis, Wind Pegasus, Farigite. So like this card. So this card gives you a mulligan. Entis gives you an extra pop. Wind Pegasus gives you that protection where if they destroy one of your cards, you get to shuffle something back. You have the Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate, which gives you that ability to like protect your Blue Eyes monsters. You have Chimera Felicia, which searches you a starter and things like that. So it's like that's basically what the Dogmatika engine does for like the Blue Eyes stuff. It gives you all these like extra synergy, and then you can send it off of like Nadir Servant. You can send it off of Punishment, you know. And that's basically what the Dogmatika engine does. You typically would only play this in like the fusion control build because you know you're not going into your extra deck very often in that one, and like the Dogmatika stuff locks you out of your extra deck. You can play the other Dogmatika cards, but I'm not really playing this engine in Blue Eyes to be able to play like Dogmatika. I'm playing it because of what it does for the Blue Eyes stuff. Again, you don't play stuff in your deck because it's good. You play it because it's specifically good in your deck. Yeah, moving on, you have Cosmo Brain. Now, Cosmo Brain is a really weird card that I'm surprised doesn't see play very often. So, and the reasoning is like really weird to me. So the reason why Cosmo Brain doesn't see play is because it's good in Duel Links, which is weird to me because people have this weird mindset where it's like they assume that because something is good in Duel Links that it's not good in the TCG, which is weird because like typically if a card is good in the TCG, it's going to be good in Duel Links, right? So it's like typically you shouldn't like have that mindset of because it was good in Duel Links it's not good in the TCG. When in reality, it's just like, if a card's good, it's good. Hold up, I have to check something real quick. I'm going to hit pause on the recording. Alright, so that's taken care of. I just had to go check on something real quick. Something was happening. Where was I? Anyway, I was talking about the Dogmatika engine. I was on Cosmo Brain, actually. So, what this card does in the context of Blue Eyes, and it's weird that this card doesn't see play, considering, like, why people play Trade-In and, like, Nebula Dragon. So what this card does is it makes use of dead vanillas in hand, but then it also special summons any vanilla from the deck. You know, like it's weird to me that people, like, completely discounted a card that says special summon from deck. By the way, a large percentage of monster cards that are on the ban list are cards that special summon from the deck because that's one of the most powerful effects in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And this card says special summon your boss monster from the deck, but it also says special summon any normal monster from the deck and utilize any normal monster in your deck. So like if you're playing the Cyframe engine and you draw Driver, you can pitch Driver to summon Cosmo Brain. You can pitch Blue Eyes to summon Cosmo Brain. You can pitch Dragon Spirit to summon Cosmo Brain. You can use this in, like, let's say you need to, like, summon these cards, right? You can summon Driver from the deck. Let's say you need this to be able to make, like, a play where you summon Moonlight Dragon. Or you need this to be able to use, like, one of your level 2 tuners to go into, like, one of your level 8 plays and make, like, a Chaos Ruler play, right? Cosmo Brain's a level 7, so him and any level 1 tuner makes Chaos Ruler. And I will say that this card definitely got better over the years because the thing about it is that like it's searchable by Chaos Space and it allows you to use Chaos Space's effect to draw if this is banished. You can put this back into the deck and draw a card. But like another thing that this card can do is hold up. So Flamvell Guard is a level 1 normal tuner monster that synergizes with the Blue Eyes deck because, again, this is a card you can summon off of Cosmo Brain, that you can send off of Cosmo Brain to special summon Cosmo Brain, that you can special summon with Silver's Cry, that you can send off of Mausoleum of White's effect. And that's another thing with, like, Mausoleum of White. I actually kind of skipped ahead. Actually, I'll talk about that when I get to it. But, like, this card is very, very playable in Blue Eyes, and it's a very good card in Blue Eyes. And the only reason why I'm not really playing it anymore in the TCG is because we have Dictator of D now, and it basically does the same thing at this card. But in the context of Master Duel, we don't have Dictator of D, so it's like I play Cosmo Brain in my combo versions. Being able to use it to go into like Chaos Ruler plays, being able to use this to go into like Hauk plays, being able to use this to special summon Blue Eyes from the deck, being able to like use this to like kind of facilitate whatever I need in that moment. And then we have like the dangers. Nessie, like these cards are just extenders. They're just all the dangers are just free extenders, you know. They say special summon to the field, pitch a card, draw one card. And they all have effects if they get pitched as well. What is this? I wonder if this means graveyard effect. Let me see something. No, it doesn't. Oh wait, this is the type actually. Okay. I never actually looked at these icons before, but anyway, so yeah, I specifically play Nessie in Blue Eyes. So you shouldn't just play Danger specifically. There's specific ones you play. You play Nessie because it's a 7 that can enable you Chaos Ruler plays with your tuners, right? And it can enable you level 9s with, you know, if you're playing like these and like the E-Tellers and stuff. And it can enable your level 10s if you're playing like Ghost Ogres and E-Tellers as well. But yeah, Nessie and like all the dangers that you play. So typically I play Nessie, Bigfoot, and Thunderbird. You can play Ogopogo, I think. Where is it? This guy, Ogopogo. So this is another 8 danger that you can play to help you go into like your rank 8 plays and stuff, and like your level 9 synchros and your level 10 synchros and things like that. But the downside to this one is that its discard effect is like useless sometimes. Sometimes it comes up, sometimes with the Chaos monsters, because it can like put that last Dark you need engrave to like use the effect. But like, I typically don't play Ogopogo. I typically just play Nessie, Bigfoot, and Thunderbird. But the dangers are really good. Chaos Emperor Dragon. This is just a level 8 extender. You banish the light and dark, you special this. This is one of those cards where, like I mentioned earlier, like budget replacement. This is just an extender. Most of the time, you would play this, right? But in IRL play, this card is like $70 to $100. So I understand why people don't play this. But this card has the same summoning requirement. Is also a level 8 dragon monster, dark dragon monster. It's a chaos monster, so you can search off chaos space. It fits the requirements for melody. It's just like, it's basically a vanilla. It fits all of the things that this does, but this card doesn't do anything. It doesn't have an effect. I know it has an effect, but it doesn't have an effect. Let me explain that. So in order to use this effect, you literally cannot do anything else that turn. So if you've done anything, this card doesn't have an effect. So that's just something to keep in mind. So if you search this with melody, you can't use the effect. If you did anything else that turn, you can't use the effect. And if you use this effect, you can't do anything else that effect. So if you go activate this effect, right, and they Veiler it, you pass turn. So it's basically a vanilla. Similarly, this is like an extender that you play. This is actually a Blue Eyes extender. You would only really play this in the like builds that play like the field spells and stuff, because you have to have a field spell on the board to be able to use this. It's basically just a free extender if you have a field spell, because you just special this by banishing a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck. And this isn't just a level 8 extender, because it actually does have like the Blue Eyes name, so you actually can use this to make like Spirit Dragon and such. You can special this back with a Master and whatnot. Like, it actually is a Blue Eyes monster, so that actually does come up sometimes. But yeah, you typically aren't playing this, but it's just like, again, sometimes you don't have the best card. Sometimes you play the second best card, or the third best card, or the fourth best card. You play the best card that you have for that card roll, and this is just, extender. Most of the time, you're going to be playing this instead, because alternative is that free level 8 extender if you have a Blue Eyes White Dragon in hand. This is one of the most iconic cards for the Blue Eyes deck. Everybody knows about this card. Dragon Spirit of White. This is that extra Blue Eyes monster that you special summon from the deck, banishes back row. It's treated as a normal monster, so it's synergized with a lot of the stuff in the deck. It's a Blue Eyes monster. It's always treated as a Blue Eyes monster. It's Blue Eyes Solid Dragon. This is like not as good because it's not treated as a normal monster. So like Dragon Spirit of White is treated as a normal monster in the hand and in grave, whereas this card is just an effect monster. It negates an effect. This card can special Blue Eyes from hand. This card can only special Blue Eyes from deck. They both have like a similar tag out effect. Chaos Dragon Levianeer is, another one of the dragons that you can search off of Melody of the Awakening Dragon. Actually, speaking of Melody, because that's, right there, I'm actually going to just like kind of pull up all the cards you can search with this card. Let's see. Are they all in here? They're not. But like some of them you wouldn't really play if I'm gonna be real. Like Chaos Emperor is one. This is one. This is one. This is one. This is one. Obviously the vanilla is one. But there's also the ritual monsters, the Chaos Dragon ritual monsters. Those are all searchable by Melody. Trying to remember what's the name of the card. This card is searchable by Melody. Those are the ones off the top of my head. I'm probably forgetting some. But to be fair, you wouldn't play a lot of them. But these are like the main ones that you play. And then obviously Chaos Emperor. This card is like, in my opinion, this is a staple in the archetype. This is like, it's so strong and it synergizes so well with like every single version of Blue Eyes. So like, basically what this card does is it gives you not only like that level 8 extender, but also it's just like a powerful art card overall, but it also like fixes one of the core weaknesses of the Blue Eyes strategy. So the thing about Chaos Emperor is that like one of the biggest weaknesses of the deck is that like, well, one of the strengths of the deck is like its ability to have like that grind game, be able to keep like recurring your resource, keep floating, things like that. But like one of the weaknesses of the deck is that like if your stuff gets banished, you kind of like lose. But like this card fixes that issue because this card can add your cards back from the banish pile. Because its pendulum scale effect is that does it show it here? Okay, yeah, here it is. Pendulum effect. So you can pay 1,000 to target one of your banished dragon monster and add it to your hand, and then this goes to the extra deck. And the thing about this card is that you can actually banish a light and dark to special it from your hand, but you can also banish a light and dark to special it summon it from your extra deck. So you can use the effect to recur one of your banished resources and then special summon it as a level 8 extender to go into like rank 8 plays or level 9 synchro plays or whatever. And then once you do that, it actually recycles itself and goes back into the deck. So the loop that you play is that with Stone of Ancients, you can summon, Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon, and Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon searches any level 8 or higher dragon, which is broken because you can search this, you can search any of these monsters, but it's any level 8 or higher dragon. So like, regardless of what variant you play, you would want to play Abyss Dragon because this can search, cards like Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. It can search like Nebula Dragon. It can search Galactic Spiral Dragon. It can search all those cards. It's like ridiculous. Like I actually played, like when I was playing Blue Eyes Dragon Link, I was playing this in Blue Eyes Dragon Link. And it's like if you open like the ritual thing, you could just search like any of your other stuff. Like you could search Levy, you could search Emperor, you could search Red Eyes. Like it's really, really strong. But like the loop with this card and basically gives you that like recurable resource loop is that this searches this, and then like on the follow-up turn, this can add back one of your Blue Eyes monsters by banishing, and then you can use this to add back that stone, and then you have that stone to then go into like your synchro plays or go into like your Hout plays or whatever. And then, like, in the end phase, this is going to special summon another Blue Eyes monster. And then if you use this to do something, this goes back into the deck. And because this is every one of your end phases, and the end phase, you can search this right back. So you basically just have that loop, and you can just keep doing that every single turn. And that was one of the things about the control decks I was playing, last year that made it really strong, was that you could just keep doing that every single turn, having access to this board wipe every single turn. And also, this is a non-targeting board wipe, which is really strong. But yeah, obviously I talked about the dangers already. Gizmek Orochi. So this is basically just free level 8 extender. It's ridiculously powerful. It's it's one of those cards that I hate how good it is because of what it does. You know, it's like the cost for this card is to banish the top 8 cards of your deck face down, and like there's very few cards that you can play that get those back. You can play Omega to get like banished face down card back, but like that's it. You know, like this is like the only card you can realistically play to get back banished face down cards. But it's like every single time I've used this card, it has been so broken and it's won me the game. But it's just like, I hate this card. It's like, okay, anybody who plays like Extrav and like Desires understands, right? Because it's like, it's so good, but I hate banishing my cards. Because it's just like, it's that, you know, what if I banish blah, blah, blah. But then you draw the cards and you win the game anyway. And it's just like, well. Well, on that note, I actually want to talk about something real quick. So this is actually a like mindset pitfall that a lot of like newer players fall into, where they value potential resources over actual resources, right? They don't play cards like Desires and Extrav and Prosperity and Gizmek because they might potentially banish something that they want, you know? But the reality is that if you don't have access to the card, you don't have access to the card. The fact that you might potentially get it later is irrelevant because you don't have it. In the context of like the modern game of Yu-Gi-Oh, you're not really going to have the chance to keep drawing cards 20 turns and potentially hit it, you know? The reality is what you open in your hand and what you have access to immediately is kind of what you get, if I'm going to be real, you know? So like, you kind of are going to need cards like this that give you an immediate resources. You know, cards like Desires that give you immediate resources, you know, things like that. And the thing about like, you know, Gizmek similar Desires is that like you can kind of activate these cards whenever. So it's like you don't have to activate these cards immediately. So like those one-ofs that you're worried about banishing, you can actually just like play your turn out a little bit and like maybe get those cards out of the deck first and then use this card, right? Like you can hold these as that extender that you use when you've gotten hand trapped to sleep and you're like, okay, I can't really do anything else. Time to fire this off and like keep playing, you know? I already talked about Abyss Dragon. Actually, I do need to talk about this card a little bit more because I actually didn't mention it. This effect to boost attack is so relevant. Honestly, I'm going to be real. This card is what made Pure Blue Eyes viable in the TCG. Because like literally, I can't tell you how much like this comes up because this card changing Dragon Shrine from a 0 in card advantage to a +2 is huge because those extra 2 cards matter. The fact that it gives you that 1,000 tag boost matters because all of a sudden this changes you doing a lot of damage into an OTK. Because all of a sudden, instead of 2 Blue Eyes being 6,000 damage, they are 8,000 damage, which is an OTK. And I cannot tell you how many times that has come up. I think in like my last like Master Duel video, like literally at the end of the game, literally me using this effect to boost my 2 dragons to 4,000 is what won me the game. Chaos Creator, this is just another level 8 extender chaos monster that you can play. It's searchable off Chaos Space. It also addresses that whole banishing issue because you can recycle your banished resources. You don't actually have to pick your banished cards, by the way. You can put your opponent's banished stuff back into their deck. So like if you play around against like the Numeron deck, hold up. Numeron. So what is it? This thing. So if you remember, this card, it summons back during like their standby phase and then burns you to kill you, right? So during the Ixis Festival, what I was doing was I was using this. I was shuffling this card back into their extra deck so it wouldn't summon, so they wouldn't burn me. And then obviously you can use it to get back your stuff, and it like special summon stuff back from the banish pile. So it's like the stuff you banish, you can then like special summon to like keep extending and things like that. Reborn, generic extender. This says summon any monster from either graveyard. I don't know why this card doesn't see play. I feel like a lot of people just don't realize like how stupid it is. It's like, sure, they're searchable reborns, but those searchable reborns can't like summon any monster. Like the versatility, because the thing about it is that like one mindset flaw with deck building that I see a lot of people fall into is that like they have this, oh, I have to play either or. Sometimes you will be in that scenario, but a lot of times you can just play both, you know? Like, why play Reborn or, you know, Return the Dragon Lords when you can play both, you know? Why play Secession or Reborn when you can play both? Foolish Barrow, this says send any card in your deck to the grave. You can send Gizmek Orochi to have a special summon. You can send that last dark you need for Levy, or like send the light you need for like whatever, right? You can send a stone to add a Blue Eyes. You can send a Stone of Ancients to add, special from deck in the end phase. You can send, Abyss Dragon to get that boost you need to OTK. You can send Master to special Blue Eyes from grave. You can send whatever you need to do whatever you need. Terraforming, this says add Meltdown. This says add Dragon Ravine. This says add Mausoleum. This says add your field spell. This is an extra starter for whatever, if you're playing one of the decks that use the field spell. Summoner's Art, this is a card that says add Blue Eyes to hand if you need to do that. If you're playing a deck that needs to do that, Summoner's Art adds Blue Eyes to hand. Trade-in, Extender, you have a level 8 in hand, pitch it, draw 2. On that, let's talk about Nebula Dragon. So Nebula Dragon is a card that people play to make use of dead, Blue Eyes in hand. This helps you make rank 8s. I personally don't like it, but again, you don't play the best option if you don't have it. You play the best option that you have. Galactic Spiral Dragon. I actually haven't seen people play this that much, surprisingly enough. Like if you're playing a words are hard. If you're playing a rank 8 deck, this card is really, really good. Again, this is a card you can send off Foolish Burial. This card says if you have 2 light or dark dragons, if you have 2 dragons and they're either... It's kind of... The wording is kind of hard. If you have 2 dragons or board and they're either light or dark dragons, you can special summon this. And then its second effect deck, you can turn everything on the board to level 8. And then, like, go into rank 8 plays and things like that. But yeah, trade-in. Melody, this is your starter. This is a staple 3 of in most Blue Eyes decks. It says add most of the cards in your deck if we're being real. 1 for 1, free extender, summons any of your tuners. This can be relevant. Dragon Shrine is, same reason Foolish Barrow is good, but it's, only dragons, but it gives you that double send. Being able to send Blue Eyes and Stones means that Abyss Dragon is live. Being able to send this and this, add cards and like load up the grave for Levianeer, that double send comes up. Return Dragon Lords, special summon one of your, dragon monsters. And then you have that Banish Protect. That's not what you play because it's an extender. Desires, draw 2. Secession, special summon any monster from your graveyard to a zone link monster points. So the reason why this is good in Blue Eyes, because you have Link Karibo. Any level 1 tuner gives you a Link Arrow to go into Secession to then, go into Hauki Firebrax plays. Or maybe you want to, like, get any monster back, you can get any monster back. Bingo Machine Go, this is a card you have to build around. The reality is that, like, I don't think the way to play this card is to play, like, 3 of stuff so you can always guarantee a search. The way I play this card is you play it as an upstart goblin that only gives you a Blue Eyes card. So you play this, like, it's like in the control deck you play it because it's an extra copy of True Light, right? It's extra copy of Ultimate Creature or whatever, right? You can set Bingo off of True Light to then get a Blue Eyes to then special off True Light on the opponent's turn or get an alternative or whatever, right? But typically, like in the combo decks, if you're playing this, you play it as an upstart goblin that can give you a Blue Eyes card. Moving on, Extrav, you play this in like the control decks, because you're not going into your extra deck that much. You're drawing 2 cards, it's better than Desires in those decks because, Extrav just draws 2 cards. Fusion Deployment, I already covered this. Nadir, I already covered this. Chaos Space. So Chaos Space, this is actually a big one for the Blue Eyes deck that I feel like a lot of people don't realize how much this searches. This searches just in this pile, actually. This searches Cosmo Brain. It searches Chaos Emperor. It searches it searches Malefic Blue Eyes. It searches Alternative. It searches Levianeer, Emperor. It searches Chaos Creator. It searches BLS. It searches like so many of your level 8 extenders that you're playing. It searches Blue Eyes monsters. If you have like Banish cards, you can use it to draw cards. It's really crazy. Prosperity is just like the craziest card for consistency I've ever seen in my life. Like it's so stupid what this card does for any deck. It's just like, so the chance of seeing a 3 of in a 40 card deck is like 33% or something like that. If you play 3 Prosperity, that chance jumps up to like 80%. Yeah, it's stupid. But the thing is, this is a hard card to use. You can't really play this if you're playing deck cards that draw, because you can't draw cards by card effects if you want to use this card. Funny thing, actually. So if you're playing a deck that plays both Extrav and Prosperity, or like Desires, or like draw spells and Prosperity, what you can do. So if you activate Extrav and they ash it, you didn't draw a card by card effect, so you can then Prosperity afterwards, which is really funny. Dragon Ravine. This is a Dragon Shrine, but on a field spell that you can use every single turn. This says Send Stone of Ancients to graveyard every single turn. This says I have access to my Blue Eyes engine every single turn. So if you're playing like the cards, like, you know, I've seen a lot of people play like discard effects in Blue Eyes to be able to trigger stones, be able to trigger, what is the card? Fabled Catsith. So this is a card that people were playing Blue Eyes back in 2016. This is just removal. If you pitch it with Melody, you get to pop a card on the field. If you pitch it with, you know, Raigeki Break, people were playing that into the deck. Pitch it with your discard effects, you get to, like, you know, get that extra advantage. Dragon Ravine says you get to trigger those kinds of effects every single turn. You get to sculpt your graveyard every single turn. Mausoleum of Light. This is one of the specific kinds of builds. So if you're playing like, so one of the things about this is that this enables some really stupid combos. So Sage Mausoleum is a 2-card combo that goes like +5 basically. And because this is a field spell, you get to do that every single turn. Because basically what you do is you go search Maiden with Eyes of Blue, then you extra normal the Maiden, you target the Maiden, and then you chain the Maiden to special Blue Eyes, and then you go into Hauk. Hauk summons your stone, and then you make Spirit Dragon, and then you have the Hauk Spirit Dragon board, and then because you have a Blue Eyes and a stone, you get special summon Abyss, and then Abyss searches your card. So you can, if you're playing the ritual stuff, you search the Chaos form in the Chaos Dragon, and if you're searching the poly, you can search the poly and like alternative whatever, and it just gives you a lot of stuff, right? And obviously ETLA specials, Silver's Cry, generic extender. This is a card that basically just says Foolish any Blue Eyes monster to the grave. You don't really care about this other effect. You play this because it says Foolish a Blue Eyes monster from the grave. Again, you don't always play the best card. You play the best card that you have. Yeah. Another thing about this is if you're playing the Mausoleum build, this actually can target Maiden and trigger Maiden to special Blue Eyes, so that comes up sometimes. This is the engine requirement. This is, you know, part of the control deck. This says pick a Blue Eyes monster, can't die, is unaffected by card effects, can't be destroyed by battle, and any monster that battles it dies. If you special Blue Eyes White Dragon, it resets itself. By the way, alternative is Blue Eyes White Dragon, so you can special this off Maiden, you can special this, and then reset ultimate creature. Yeah, same thing. If you have Blue Eyes White Dragon, this negates all monsters on your opponent's board. Skill Drain goes in. These are just floodgates you can play in like the control variant that like shut your opponent down. I'm going to be real. This video is getting really, really long. I did not think this would take this long to talk about. I might actually have to like cut it here and like continue this another day. I did not expect this to take this long. But yeah, I'm going to try and like, you know, speed up and like kind of just blitz through everything. But formula, this is part of like the Hauk combo, so you tag out into this. This is one of the reasons why Hauk Spirit Dragon is such a strong board, because effectively what it is, it's whatever you need it to be based on the matchup, right? So let's say I'm playing a combo deck. Normally when the problem about combo decks is if you build based on like what the expected meta is, and if you end up against a rogue matchup, you might end up with a board that doesn't do anything. So let's say I ended on like a board of a bunch of monster negate. If my opponent sets 5, my monster negate board doesn't do anything. But with the Hauk Spirit Dragon board, if your opponent's playing monsters, you know, negate monsters. If your opponent's playing set 5, you can actually go into like 2 different plays actually, right? But if my opponent's set 5, realistically, I would do this way. So I would go Spirit Dragon, tag out into Moonlight, Hauk, tag out into Formula, draw a card, and then I would go into this card. Crystron Phoenix. So this card, if it synchro summons, banishes all spell and trap cards your opponent controls and in their graveyard. This destroys Eldritch. So if you're playing, going first, you do this board against Eldritch and they set 5, and then they go attempt to end phase, you go effect, and you make Crystron Phoenix, you banish all of their cards, and they just lose the game, basically. And the thing is, I actually just like found out about this card, and I've recently started doing this against Eldritch, and it just like completely blows them out of the game. They just auto lose if you do this. Before, what I was doing was I was doing a different play where you go Spirit Dragon, tag out into start a Spark Dragon, right? And then use Formula to go into Satellite Warrior, and then Satellite Warrior gets to pop 3 cards on the board, and then it goes up to 55. You can do this anyway, but it just because it pops cards. You know, you can pop monsters and like pop 3 of your opponent's monsters, and sometimes I do this. But the Phoenix board is better because it doesn't trigger things like the 10E counter trap and those cards where it's like, oh, if they destroy it, right? Because it banishes and it doesn't like trigger Eldritch traps. Like, it's just so much better and it's so much stronger. Obviously Moonlight, this is a staple. This is one that a lot of people know about because it's one of the staple tag outs for Spirit Dragon. speaking of Spirit Dragon, I think it's Michael. Yeah, the Light's Worn. So this is it's targeted banish removal that you can go into off of Spirit Dragon's tag out effect to then convert into like a synchro. You can go into like Crystal Wing. Yeah, you can go into Crystal Wing. That was typically what people do when you either go into Moonlight and then Crystal Wing or whatever. This is a punishment target. This is one of your level 8s that you can go into. This recycles your banished monster. This is a Chaos Ruler. This is basically a really powerful like card that basically gets plays going. So what it does is it says mill 5, and then you get to add 1, and it's ridiculously strong. And it also can special summon itself from the graveyard. It's a level 8 to go into rank play plays. Basically, this helps you make rank 8s. It's just stupid. Obviously, you know Spirit Dragon, Crocker Dragon. This is just a generic 9 synchro. It has a quick effect pop effect, and it draws you a card on summon. Shen Shen, level 9 synchro. It's macro Cosmos from the field. Satellite Warrior, we talked about that. 38, this is a staple. Spell negate. The Cypher Blade package, we know about that one. It's just pop, pop, pop. Number 90, Monster Negate. Actually, this is something that's relevant. Galaxy Cyclone. Galaxy Cyclone. So this is actually searchable by number 90. This is searchable back row removal by number 90. And you can target a set spell trap on the board, pop it, and then when it's in the grave, you can banish it and pop a face-up spell trap. So, like, let's say you activate this, and they, like, they have Imperial Order, for example. You can then banish this in grave and pop Imperial Order, and that's something that, comes up a lot. Dingirsu, non-targeting, non-destruction removal, send a card on the board. The second effect actually can come up if you're playing Gizmek Orochi, because if this gets banished, you can actually re-attach this and recycle your Gizmek Orochi. The Dreglubion package that enables the Numeron OTK. Hold up. Numeron Dragon. So, this card. This is basically OTK enabler. If you summon this and use its effect, it gains attack equal to the current ranks of all monsters times 1,000. At minimum, if you summon this, it will be 9,000 attack. That's an OTK. And then you have access to, I think is Heart Earth. I think it's like a dash or something. What? Ugh. It should know what I'm looking for. Heart Earth Dragon. So this card says, at the end of the turn, your opponent's turn, banish all cards that were summoned or set that turn. So if they're playing back row, it banishes all their back row. If they summon a bunch of stuff, it banishes their whole board. Like, it's really strong, and it's enabled by the Dreglubion package. And then you have Hieratic Sky Dragon, which is just another generic rank 8. If your opponent targets a card on your field, your graveyard, or if they target your banished, like with, like Chaos Creator, you target banished cards, you can negate and destroy that card. And then you have the staple, like, Link monsters. You have Link Karibo, Hauki Fibrax, BLS. This card's really good in control matchup. It's like any 3 monsters with different names. If you use, like, one of your high-level monsters, it can't be targeted destroyed by card effect. This card's exceptional. The Selene Access Code line, OTK enabler. So basically, if you make Hulk, you can summon any of your spellcasters. Make Selene, then Selene bring back a spellcaster, go into Access Code, and the Access Code has 2 pops minimum. Sometimes you get like 3-4 pops, depending on the game state. There's so much more to cover with this deck. Like I said, this deck can be built any number of ways. There's so much more. I did not think this video was going to end up being this long. I make the joke in my Discord all the time, like, Blue Eyes has the 37 card extra deck, but like, oh man, there's so much more I can cover, man. I did not realize it's gonna be this long. So, but I'm gonna cut it here for today. Hopefully this gave you a lot of ideas that you can play in your deck building. I might make like kind of a staple deck building guide for, like, combo Blue Eyes, control Blue Eyes, aggro Blue Eyes, like the Chaos Max OTK deck. I might make videos on that. But yeah, this video is getting close to an hour, so I'm gonna cut it here. But anyway, this has been Dark Slayer from How Tessia Gaming. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day.